Welcome to the weekend warm-up. This is the Dynasty Pulse Weekend Warm-up right here on the Undroppables and Fantasy Football Plus. Shout out Chalk. Shout out Bradley Stalder. We in the building. We are here to talk Dynasty Fantasy Football. And it's week 16 of the playoffs, you guys. How are we doing in our Dynasty leagues? I have a bunch that I'm still in the playoffs in. Playing Chalk this week in one of them. Actually, that's not a dynasty; it's a redraft. And then I'm in an Undroppables dynasty league that I'm playing in the playoffs in, and it's just overall it's a great week to be great.
I agree. I'm in a couple dynasty leagues that I'm in right in the heart of things, and a couple redraft leagues. Can't get any better than this right now. This time of year, where the football season is wrapping up, but the college season is starting to ramp up here. The off season rookie draft is right around the corner, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But Dynasty's at the forefront now, folks, and let's get into it. How are you guys doing on the left side of the table?
Oh, it's a beautiful night. Beautiful night.
Yeah, just cashed an Aldrich Estime first touchdown score.
I'm doing real well
today. Phantasmal.
Right now. Last night, right now.
Right now. Yesterday, after a while.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Now we don't even know what side of the screen we're on. So
I'm on the yesterday side of the screen.
Yesteryears. All right. Let's get into the show, guys. And we got a lot to talk about. A couple major topics we want to get into, and then we'll get into our stock.
Terry McLaurin.
Okay. We're not sitting Terry McLaurin. And
we are.
I learned my lesson.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about a wide receiver here. Brian Thomas Jr. Is he the rookie wide receiver one in this class? How is that?
That's going to be the new mating call for Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, geez.
Moose and Rut in the top corner up here.
There you go. All right. Well, let's talk about Brian Thomas Jr. And he's quickly establishing himself as probably the top asset right now in the 2024 rookie class, surpassing highly touted receivers like Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and potentially, Ladd McConkey's now in that conversation, despite having inconsistent quarterback play. He's been, just outstanding the last couple of weeks. This week, in week 15, he posted 32 fantasy points. Schultzy was actually at the game. He saw his lightning fast speed and, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns on 14 targets, just an indicator of his potential. And he's able to deliver in clutch moments. Looking deeper into Thomas's stats, his success is just evident. He posted 12 touchdowns on, 20 plus yards downfield at LSU. And he's just been a really good target, under the shadows of Malik Neighbors there. Now he's now in an offense that is, targeting him. And he's just been the eye of Mac Jones's, sparkle in Mac Jones's eye. So now, Jeremiah, given Brian Thomas's ability to consistently produce regardless of his quarterback play, do you see him as the wide receiver one in this rookie class moving forward? Or are you still on like a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Malik Neighbors and their hype train?
A great, sharp question to the pulse of where we're at now. Things change very quickly, rapidly, and we have to change some of our impressions. I'll lay my definitive answer at the end of this tangent, but let's dive in. The beauty is that even if I did see BTJ as the wide receiver one of this class, you don't need to in order to benefit. Here are a few stat comparisons, and then I'll go into a trade exercise with you all. 4 targets. Let's compare Malik Neighbors, 140. Brian Thomas Jr., 99. Target share, and right now this is just Neighbors to BTJ. Neighbors, 35% target share. BTJ, 22.8%. So big gap there. 90 receptions for Malik, 64 for BTJ. So my impression, which will shape the landscape of this discussion, will be one that we need to answer in 2025, because with this question coming up to the forefront, this is a question that's going to be asked to the duration through to August and September of next year. So my question, it's kind of Socratic method. Which is more impressive, the volume that Malik Neighbors commands without any good quarterback play, or BTJ's dominance despite much less volume? If you're a lawyer, you can argue both sides. Hey, Malik Neighbors needed all the volume in the world, but give Brendon Booth Jr. the same volume, and BTJ run circles around Malik Neighbors. And the other side of it is, if BTJ was as good as Malik Neighbors, then how come he hasn't demanded the amount of volume that Malik Neighbors already gets? So we'll compare quarterback situation, team, coaching situations. Those are some things that can change and impact our impressions and arguments. Let's take a look at the last 4 games played between BTJ and Malik Neighbors. There's the impression that BTJ has been much more usable these last few weeks than Malik Neighbors. 13.6 versus Neighbors 12.4. The very next week, 18.7 to 15.3 in favor of BTJ. BTJ 16.6 to 14.9. Then last week, 32.5 to 24.2. All in all, BTJ has had 14.6 more fantasy points than Malik Neighbors over the last month. But certainly, it feels like BTJ is hitting much more than that versus if you had Malik Neighbors. Personally, since Thanksgiving, when it has been a 50-50 between starting BTJ and Malik Neighbors, I've been clicking BTJ. Malik Neighbors, is he wide receiver 10? BTJ, wide receiver 7. On Keep Trade Cut, there's a near 4,000 point differential, though, in favor of Malik Neighbors. So you can take advantage of this. And I'm going to go around the room. Who would you rather have? All right, remember, if you're already on board with BTJ 1-for-1 over Malik Neighbors, all of these deals are plus money for you. So, Chev, I will ask you right now, do you prefer Malik Neighbors or BTJ and Josh Downs?
BTJ and Josh Downs, it's not even close. I would much rather have BTJ and Josh Downs. One, you've already got the quarterback situation figured out in Jacksonville. 2, you've seen he's near quarterback proof with Mac Jones just peppering him with targets, and it's catch and run targets where he gets to utilize his complete skill set, the athleticism, the 4.3 340, the 40+ inch vertical, the burst, all of that. Everything about his game has translated to the league. We've got too many questions about Malik Neighbors as you can't question the volume. You hope that the targets that he's getting are more catchable coming from Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. But if I'm going to be able to get Josh Downs, who I'm really high on, I've listed him as a stock up, I think maybe twice on this show. And then I also can get Brian Thomas Jr., who I view as, I won't say he's the number 1 receiver in the rookie class, because I'm not going to be, again, thermostat, not a thermometer, but by far and away this year, he's been the most valuable. So if I can get a plus and send Malik Neighbors in the uncertainty for a guy who's going to help my roster right now, week in, week out, and another piece that's going to be probably a top 20 dynasty receiver, I'm doing that all day long.
Very nice, very nice. So this is, we're getting the temperature check here, right? Getting a pulse check on the Dynasty Pulse. Malik Neighbors, this one is for you, Schultzy. Malik Neighbors or BTJ and Tyrone Tracy? Who you got?
Oh, we're going back to Thomas and Tracy here. You got to think Tracy's going to get a shot at this backfield at least next year to take the reins here. And it takes you right back to the BTJ Malik Neighbors debate. And if they're close, you got to take the plus side here. And I don't think at this point there's not much of a gap here anymore. It's pretty dang close.
How about you, Biggs? Malik Neighbors or BTJ and Christian McCaffrey?
Why would you do that to me? I don't want to be part of Christian McCaffrey. So I'm looking over on Dynasty Daddy. The last time there was a straight up 1-for-1 trade was 109 days ago, 3.5 months ago. They were traded straight up for each other. Now, what you're getting back and to be honest, it wasn't. It's been a while. It's been about a month since they were involved in any trades on either side of each other. But about a month ago, it was Malik Neighbors and Tracy, and a fourth for Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Brian Thomas. So whoever was giving up Malik was getting back Breece Hall and Brian Thomas. That's a smash. That's an absolute smash. Brian Thomas, Bucky Irving, and a 26 first straight up for Malik Neighbors. So here's my point. If you look at an environment in the next 4 to 5 years in which these two are going to be hand in hand the way that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are right now, you need to, and this is what Dynasty Fantasy Football is all about, you need to maximize the value of the players that you have and get what you can for them at the highest cost you can charge somebody.
Yes.
If you had Justin Jefferson 3 years ago and traded him for Jamar Chase and a bunch of other stuff, you're very, very happy right now, because this is a world that we live in that Justin Jefferson is a wide receiver 1 and Jamar Chase is also a wide receiver 1. And in 4 or 5 years, Malik Neighbors is going to be a wide receiver 1 and Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a wide receiver 1. Yep. So right now, if you can capitalize on Brian Thomas Jr. on the precipice of being Justin Jefferson's Jamar Chase, get rid of Malik Neighbors, get everything that you can and Brian Thomas Jr. back, and you're going to be set up in a really, really good spot.
Excellent. And I'll point out another on Dynasty Process. It has, for even, Malik Neighbors with BTJ and JMO on the other side. Then you have Malik and BTJ and Ramondre Stevenson. Mike, I'll save some of my Marvin Harrison Jr. questions for you for time's sake. But the impression there, everybody, Malik Neighbors in the market is commanding more, but it seems like if you like them even enough, as Biggs is saying, they're going to be wide receiver 1s projected over the next 5 years. Getting any plus is something to squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube. Now let's do Marvin Harrison Jr. Marv is the wide receiver 31. So my eye test on Marv is that he doesn't create separation at the catch point in the NFL. That is just to say he isn't big-bodied enough when it comes to contested catches. Marv has 92 targets to BTJ's 99. BTJ and Marv have an even 22% target share. BTJ's 64 receptions are 17 more than Marv's 47. Yards per route run, BTJ 2.37, which is 17th. Marv's is 1.68, which is 58. So, market comparison time. Keep Trade Cut has Marv and BTJ as even. All right. All the aggregated data can be skewed, but their trade value chart shows a convergence just in the last few days. So November 7th, there was a 500-point gap in favor of Marv. So things have changed. So Dynasty Process gives Marvin Harrison Jr. a near 2,000-point edge on BTJ. So now let's run around the room. Mike, would you prefer Marv for BTJ and Kyle Pitts?
I'm going Marv for BTJ straight. Like, I'm taking BTJ for Marv straight up. So any addition to that, I'm taking.
Okay, beautiful. Now, BTJ and Brian Robinson Jr. or Marv Schultzy, who you got?
Oh, yeah, I'm in the same boat as Mike. As any plus you can add on that side, I'm taking that.
I'm almost willing to give more to get BTJ at this stage. Like, I
right. The package should be Marvin.
Yeah.
Plus.
I'm throwing something in there. Like, I mean, if I can get BTJ plus,
yep,
it's a no-brainer. But I took a couple stabs this week in a league that I'm very, very competitive in, and I just wanted to see what the temperature was on BTJ, and I offered like a pretty ransom, like a 2026 first, Zay Flowers and Trey Benson, and it was like immediately shut down. So those are like 3 first-round picks essentially. So I mean, I gave up 3 first-round picks and it wasn't even like, it was immediate back. So that's how much this guy's getting valued right now, and he's taken the league by storm. Now that they have their franchise quarterback in Mac Jones, I think they're ready to go. on all cylinders here, and he's really brought out the best in Brian Thomas Jr.
So all in all, to tie it together, we seem to have good consensus in the room. As Regis Philbin would say, my final answer for right now, I'm going to go Malik Neighbors, a smaller gap, a very tight gap, Brian Thomas Jr., and then a medium to larger gap to Marvin Harrison Jr. The way I'm playing, if presented, I will trade Malik Neighbors for BTJ plus, or just sit with some Malik Neighbors. If you're in a portfolio perspective, you should shoot for 50-50 exposure to having Malik Neighbors, having BTJ, and the package, because you want to roll some with Malik Neighbors. And for Marvin Harrison Jr. in a portfolio setting, I would maybe want to slice it to a quarter of that. I just really would shift the focus towards the pendulum, towards Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. So that's where I sit on that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
the Terry McLaurin. That's what I think.
All right. All right, Schultzy, I got a question for you because we're talking about Jags here, and with his impressive deep threat ability and strong connection to whatever quarterback Jacksonville employs, do you expect Thomas to be a consistent top 12 wide receiver for the next 3 to 5 years? And do you anticipate any changes in there as the Jaguars offense evolves?
Oh, if there's going to be changes, it's put more on this guy's plate. Look, the thing you're talking about the next 3 to 5 years, absolutely top 12 guy. He was drafted as a complete traits dude, and we've already seen the traits explode. He's only going up, right? Like, I just don't see the trajectory flattening here. Like I said, all the questions about him were like, can he put the traits together on the NFL football field? And he's, since week one, he's like stacked it week after week. He's done it in different ways. And we're watching him he just put a full performance out there. Pre-game, talking about Sauce Gardner, he said, "Oh, I'm not worried about them. They're the ones who should be worried about me." And so he's like developing that attitude, like he's getting the confidence. I love him. So yeah, top 12 next couple of years easily for me. You're looking at the back end of the top 12 has dudes like Garrett Wilson, smash Brian Thomas over Garrett Wilson right now. Marvin Harrison Jr., we just talked about it. Drake London, give me Brian Thomas over Drake London easily. Those are the back end of that's 9, 10, 11, that kind of area. Give me Brian Thomas over all three of those guys in Dynasty right now. Yeah, I think the most impressive part to me is, like I said, the way he's developed. It's so tangible. It's so obvious. Absolutely floored by this guy, especially seeing him in person. Holy crap.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think over the next year, calendar year, 6 months, 8 months, whatever, we're going to see regime changes in Jacksonville and in New York. Back to the Malik versus Brian Thomas Jr. discussion. The only thing that gives me pause about discussing the two of them is the fact that BTJ has 8 touchdowns, Malik Neighbors has 4. And touchdowns, as we know, are not sticky. I am not sold on any quarterback in this draft class. So, therefore, I am not sold on any of the top 3 picks being Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. Sam Darnold is supposed to be a free agent this year. I can absolutely see the New York Giants making a play for him, especially if they move on from their general manager and bring in a new offensive coordinator. And the Jags are probably going to replace their offensive coordinator too. And what you will see is both of those offensive coordinators coming in and assessing the situation they have with their teams and saying, this guy is the guy that we need to put the ball in the hands of, and developing their scheme around those guys. Both of these guys, Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., are going to be the it kids on those teams with new regimes. And for the Giants, likely a new quarterback. For Trevor, just an absolute smash down the field. Now, that said, it's going to change the touchdown dynamic of Malik Neighbors because of his opportunities, because of the fact that he's going to be a 140 to 150 target machine. Yep. His opportunities to score are going to rise such that he's going to exceed his 4 to 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns that he'll finish with this year. And when he starts getting into the double-digit touchdown range, on top of his target share, on top of his 100+ receptions per season, he's going to separate himself from most of the receivers. That said, I can see Brian Thomas Jr.'s participation increasing as well. And so they're going to be in lockstep.
Love the call. And another call is, start Terry McLaurin this week. All right, let's move on to Patrick Mahomes. And
if you like losing.
All right.
Hey, he got locked. Hey, let's talk about it, though. Terry McLaurin got locked up against Philly last time.
All right.
No fear there.
Are we doing this?
Let's do it because you know what, he had an injured quarterback, and this game is going to be a lot more meaningful, I think.
Only if I'm allowed to call the Eagles defense by their nickname.
What are they?
Can we do it on this? Can we do it on this platform?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just not doing it for Matt Kelly.
Okay.
Let's go.
Everybody else can weigh in on this. So, since we're not doing starts and sits this one,
Are we not?
We're not. I had to throw it out there because Terry McLaurin is my sit of the week. He scored 2 points against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles allow the fewest wide receiver points in fantasy. It's the worst possible matchup for Terry McLaurin. I understand Jaden Daniels was struggling, but McLaurin was held to 2 targets and 1 catch the last time they played. The Ku Klux Klan is going to not allow Terry McLaurin to do anything in this game. Philadelphia is on a mission, and McLaurin is the sit. He's going to break your heart. I cannot wait for Tuesday Twitter. All of the people saying, well, I started Terry McLaurin and I lost my playoff because he only had 4 points or 6 points or whatever. I took him out where I have him and replaced him with guys who have better matchups and better games ahead. I love Terry McLaurin, and you can't argue with the fact that he's wide receiver 5 or 6 this year. It's just he's been a smash, but not against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's too important a game for them. They're too good, and he's going to get shut down. Now,
Okay, hey, how about
the floor is open.
Sorry, Terry or Drake London this week?
Terry McLaurin.
This Drake London.
I'd probably go London.
Jeremiah,
Terry or JSN?
JSN.
Consider the source. You mean data-driven, unhinged bullshit? Yes, that's the source.
I mean, I am a Drake London denier.
Yeah.
Oh, that sort. Oh, got it.
Right, hey, how about Terry McLaurin or DJ Moore?
Terry McLaurin.
DJ Moore.
I think I'll go Terry.
Okay, because
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Since that game versus the Eagles,
Yeah.
Washington self-scouted and started moving Terry around the formation. You can go look at his game logs since that game. You can go to NFL Next Gen Stats or NFL Pro or whatever. You can see his alignments and the receiving production per alignment. At one point, he was 7 for 8 for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns when lined up just on the right side of the formation, just moving him from the offensive left to the offensive right. So I think that he's going to go back to his eagle killing ways. And if they decide to try to cover him one-on-one with one of the Ku Klux Klans or Guantanamo Bay, whichever one you want, he's going to fucking cook them. That's where I'm at with it. I think that he is absolutely going to cook this week. I don't think that there's any way that they're going to go into this game and be like, yeah, I mean, we should probably not give it to our best player in a must-win situation. There's no way they're going to let him finish with 2 targets again. And if he gets like north of 6 targets, he's going to finish as at bare minimum a wide receiver 2.
You ever met Cliff Kingsbury?
This is listen again.
But didn't he make the change, as you're saying, Chev?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Gets the heat.
After that
make
game, you can go look at the game logs,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh shit, we decided not to use our best player, and we sucked. I've got to Cliff's credit. This is one of the only times I'll ever give Cliff Kingsbury credit for anything besides failing forward at an alarming rate. He made the change, And Terry McLaurin went back from being like, "Oh, I'm awesome sometimes," to like, "Yeah, I'm Terry McLaurin. Yeah, I'm Scary Terry. I'm fucking awesome." And that's where we're at.
I think he's elite.
He is elite. He's going to be the focus of that defense that shuts everybody down. And it doesn't matter where he lines up. He's going to have somebody and a bracket, if not being double covered. I see a huge game for Jaden Daniels with his legs because he's going to be making his reads, and people are going to be covered, and he's going to be scrambling. I would absolutely put like over-unders. I put overs on Jaden Daniels for rushing yards, rushing attempts, that kind of thing, because the Eagles' defense is so good.
Same game parlay: over Jaden rushing yards, under Terry receiving yards. Fire it up. You won't.
Some nasty correlation you got.
Some reverse correlation there,
and I don't like it one bit.
Hey, here's one. Here's one for you, Chev. Chev, back to you, man. Ready? Jordan Addison.
Come on.
Or Terry McLaurin.
Jesus. Oh, shit. That's nasty. Because Jordan Addison has been on.
Gets Seattle.
Jordan Addison has been. Yeah, I know he gets. Seattle, and it makes. Okay. All right.
All right. Hey, while you're thinking of that,
here's
another one. Hey, while you're thinking of that,
Terry. I'm going Terry. Forget it.
Terry. Okay.
I'll live and die with Terry.
Right, one more. Jordan Addison or AJ Brown this week.
AJ, because of the weather.
I'm just playing with you, man. I'm just playing with you.
So
he knows.
In my Fantasy Pros rankings,
AJ Brown was my sit of the week last week.
In my Fantasy Pros rankings, I have Addison 25, Terry McLaurin 24. DJ Moore is 18, AJ Brown is 6.
I mean, DJ has a great matchup this week with the Lions, and apparently they're not going to make any sort of defensive changes to play zone or something. They're just going to run man, I guess, a bunch. So
bold strategy when you're on street, guys.
I mean, I guess, I cover one robber to the moon.
Maybe Caleb to be fair, I still have Terry McLaurin as my wide receiver 24. That's wide receiver 2. But he's going to break hearts.
Are you? Okay, so Biggs, can you give us kind of a qualifier as far as that goes? Do you think that he finishes with 6 fantasy points or something like that?
Yeah, I think he's going to be down in the 4 to 5 catch range, maybe 30 yards, 40 yards, in the 8 to 10 points area.
Okay.
Well, that would be an improvement from the last game. He got clamped.
Right. He's not gonna have 2 targets this game. He's gonna have more targets than that, and he's gonna have more than 1 catch. But it's just not gonna be.
I think something that's underlying that
is all Ben Sinnott propaganda. Yes, I agree.
It's the fact that Jaden Daniels, the last time the turnaround, he had that rib injury against the Panthers. The turnaround that he had from the Sunday game to the Thursday night football game against the Philadelphia Eagles, I've always surmised that Jaden Daniels was taking, while he was good to play, he was taking the entire week just to get right. And that 4-day turnaround that he had for that Thursday night football game, he was pretty stiff. When he was thrown to the edge, he really wasn't getting the ball places with zip. To Big's point, I think Daniels is going to have a lot more mobility and be more spry earlier in his reads to take off. But I do see a better game for Terry McLaurin. I just don't know what the ceiling is. To Big's point, based on the fact that there was the other factor besides the Eagles clamping down on Terry McLaurin, you had Jaden Daniels, who was still hampered himself, and now he's fully himself. He's fully rested. So I really do like that. If we're trying to tell a story about a bullish nature for the Commanders, Terry and Jaden Daniels this week, I think that collectively puts it together.
So I have some more data that. Sorry, Chev. I have some more data that speaks to Chev's point about him in the formations. Philadelphia has allowed the fewest points per game to wide receivers in the NFL, and they're fairly even. 57% of the points they allow are to wideouts, 43% to slot receivers. that is one of the more even totals. Besides like Kansas City, there aren't a whole lot of teams that are that even. 10 points to the slot, 13 points to wideouts. So they can be moving him all over the formation, but Philly has an answer for every spot in the formation. So I'm done.
I'm not mad at all at that. I think that elite players can overcome situation, and that's kind of where I find myself with Terry in a gotta have it situation. To your point, the Eagles over the last 5 weeks have allowed the third most rushing yards to quarterbacks in the NFL. So yeah, Jaden Daniels rushing prop. I think that's a really, really plus EV play this week. Again, not financial advice.
I like the potential and the scoring total here, and I just think this game is going to be a little bit. I'm going to take the over in this one, and I just think that the wheels are going to fall off, and things are going to get exciting in this one.
See, that's why I like doing these shows with all of you guys, because we get arguments like the Tony Pollard argument from last week, and then we can come back the next week and resolve it.
Okay, for the rushing prop, Jaden Daniels over under 39.5 rushing yards, minus 114. I'm betting it right this second. So
there you go.
Put it on the board.
I like it.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm going to do that also as well, too.
I'm heading to underdog as we speak.
Not financial advice.
All right. Should we move on to the next segment here?
I would like to.
Patty
I
Matt,
mean, Mike, you kept talking about Terry McLaurin, so
I didn't talk about Terry McLaurin.
you started this, Mike.
Oh, I did. I hardly talked in that whole situation. So you guys were explaining your stories. I'm starting the wide receiver 6 overall. All right, so let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, and his dynasty value has seen a noticeable decline, especially in recent seasons. He's no longer that juggernaut he once was, and the Chiefs remain one of the top teams in the NFL. His struggles, we see it every week now. He doesn't have that supporting cast like he once did. Their defense is coming in, playing lights out. The offense no longer needs to operate at that breakneck pace, and he's undoubtedly it's impacted his fantasy ceiling. In the last season, Mahomes thrived in shootout scenarios. He's not able to sling the ball 300 plus yards with multiple touchdowns anymore now. Considering Mahomes' statistical decline there, Biggs, and the emergence of young quarterbacks, do you see him slipping further down dynasty rankings? And is there still potential for him to bounce back if the Chiefs' defense regresses and the offense becomes more aggressive?
I feel like the Chiefs have figured out a formula for winning that doesn't include Patrick Mahomes being a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football anymore. And that scares me a great deal. I was in a quarterback-only league. The only roster was 5 quarterbacks. Thanks, Chuck Bass. Shout out. And Patrick Mahomes, I wound up. I had to take him with my first pick, hoping that he would have another top 5 finish. He didn't finish in the top 5, and severely hurt my chances for the season. I feel like Patrick Mahomes is squarely in the 8 to 15 conversation moving forward, because it's not necessary for him to be elite on the fantasy side for the Chiefs to go out and mess around and win another Super Bowl. God damn it. On top of that, we're going to be looking at a changing of the guard at the tight end position. There is only one Travis Kelce. Noah Gray is fine. The kid that they drafted is fine, but neither of them are Travis Kelce. Isaiah Pacheco is likely going to be dealing with injury issues over the course of his career. They don't have much in as far as backing him up, unless you really are sold on Kareem Hunt lasting another 2 or 3 years. And then on top of that, really Hollywood Brown is very mercurial, and Xavier Worthy is a best ball guy. So they're not going to be doing it with studs. They're going to be doing it week by week with scheming and game planning and things like that. And that doesn't bode well for Mahomes in the future in fantasy.
No, it certainly does not. Now, let's move on to you then, Chev. So with the Chiefs defense playing at such a high level and minimizing the need for that potent offense, do you believe Mahomes can ever return to that previous elite numbers, or do you think it's capped now with the shift in the team focus? I mean, they got Chris Jones locked up for a couple of years here, and that defense is looking pretty good. They're young still in their secondary, but they definitely have all the pieces in place there. So what are your thoughts there?
All right, Mike, you're not going to like what I have to say here, but buckle up.
All right, let's hear it.
So, I think that the Chiefs defense is going to take a huge step back in the next few years. I also think that Matt Nagy is going to hopefully get a job somewhere else. The decline of Patrick Mahomes as a passer is directly tied to, one, the step forward from the Chiefs defense, and two, Matt Nagy becoming the offensive coordinator. He's just not a good play caller. I don't think that he dials it up in a way in which that they're looking. Well, maybe that's a directive from Andy Reid. We don't know for sure. But, I mean, obviously putting the ball in harm's way less gives you a better chance to win, as evidenced by Mahomes throwing 27 touchdowns and 14 picks and them, winning the Super Bowl. And obviously in key moments, he's special. That's just what he is. The beauty of the game was he was the best quarterback in the game and the best fantasy option in 2022, with 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. That's not coming back around the door. However, if you can get a healthy Rashee Rice back and a couple of key free agency losses, I'm sorry, Mike, but Leo Chenal probably going to go get a bag somewhere else. Jalen Watson, you've seen kind of the decline in the secondary with Jalen Watson being injured. Nick Bolton may or may not get paid by you guys. I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to rework Mahomes' deal pretty soon. That's going to tie up some stuff. And you have to address your left and right tackle positions at some point. So I don't know that there's enough money to keep all of those pieces that have been in place and, completely familiar with the Spagnuolo system. I mean, this is the same Spagnuolo system that we were actively targeting in 2022. And then, right before the playoffs, if you recall correctly, they made a huge shift and they were able to even then they were able to just start getting key stops because those young guys came of age. Well, they're about to have to ship in a new batch of young guys. And if those guys don't hit, we're back to Mahomes having to score. And we've seen if he has to dial in and get it done, he can do it. There's just no reason to put the ball in harm's way. And he's dealing with a DeAndre Hopkins you traded for that hasn't had the time to mind meld with Patrick Mahomes, and that's not going to be a week in, week out thing for a 33-year-old receiver. You lost Rashee Rice. You lost Rashee Rice in the midst of what looked to be a Cooper Cup, 2021 Cooper Cup-esque type of season. Travis Kelce has taken a step back physically, and that's just father time, right? And so And on top of that, you had Isaiah Pacheco that you were using as a complete workhorse, and your answer to the run game and the passing game, the short passing game that wasn't going to Rashee Rice. And so I think this season has been kind of a comedy of errors for the offense, and the fact that their left and right tackle situation has been putrid. I think that you're not going to get those deep shots until they shore those things up, and there's a need for it, and there just hasn't been a need for it because they're using voodoo magic to win games this year. But eventually it'll go back to their offense having to win games, and it'll be good. And hopefully, like I said, someone hires Matt Nagy so we can get like a decent play caller back in there.
Yeah, I think you broke it down really good. I think the contracts you mentioned there, I got a little bit of rebuttal about their secondary because I think, with the way they've drafted in the last couple of years, they could find a 5th or 6th round guy that they've been able to plug into that secondary pretty religiously. I mean, they've been able to find guys here and there. Their defense, yes, I think their front seven is very solid, and I think that they, solidified the Chris Jones deal. Their O-line is definitely in need of some improvements there, like you mentioned. Mahomes just doesn't have the time. Max Crosby has definitely shown their vulnerability, and I think that is the template that people are using against the Chiefs right now. So yeah, you definitely hit a lot of those points right on there, and good breakdown there. There is some upside there in Mahomes. I mean, he has that longevity. He doesn't rely on his legs, so I could still see him being, a steady top 12 quarterback, but he's no longer, I think, considered and can be considered as a top 5 guy anymore based off of the rushing upside of some of these guys coming in now, these younger quarterbacks, and his offense right now hasn't been needed. So yeah, I like this breakdown, guys. You guys did a really good job of that. And coming from a Kansas City Chiefs truther, it was I'm very even keel in my analysis too. Like I'm not a complete homer. I get where my team needs some improvements, and definitely their O-line is in need of some help here, because they need to shore that up if they want to make a run here at that Super Bowl. So yeah, guys, let's get into some stock up, stock down now. And who are we going to start with? Who's first on the show sheet?
It'd be me.
All right, there, Schultzy. Let's get in on there, buddy.
My first stock up is Mr. CD Lamb. Now, CD Lamb came in the season hot, right? He was most people's wide receiver 1. He had a little bit of a fall here, and after Dak goes down, a lot of panic, right? About CD Lamb, especially on this show. We had a big conversation there. Well, CD has since shut everyone the hell up. This dude is an absolute monster. You should never have been afraid. Like, they are who we thought they were, right? This season, he is still wide receiver number 4. He's 3rd in receptions, 3rd in yards, 3rd in yards after the catch. He leads the league with 144 targets, just over 10 a game. All of that has led to another awesome fantasy season for CD. You go back to all those numbers he's put up. He's done it with a 49th ranked target quality rating and a 45th ranked catchable target rate. So the balls coming to him have been bad, and this guy's wide receiver 4. So the stock up is telling you, 1, the stock is just up because he's killing it, and 2, go freaking buy this guy because he's producing like crazy with bad quarterback play. You go to keep, trade, cut. His value preseason was like creeping up to 10,000. And currently it is, let's see, where did he drop to? He's down to 7,800. He's looking at he's dang near 20% decrease here to where he's currently at in the market, which is wild. Now I know he's not wide receiver 1, and he hasn't been, but he's still killing it. And almost 20% market drop here is just absolutely insane to me. So stock up for CD because he's absolutely destroying people, and stock up for CD because go buy him.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would also, to add to that, I would say that there was no world almost going into 2024 where you could get CD Lamb without compromising your team skeleton. There was just no way without giving up an arm and a leg and possibly a foot, possibly another arm in order to get him. So if he's acquirable at all now, I would make the play to do so, because that wasn't a reality in Dynasty going into 2024.
Right. So yeah, stock up on both counts, which is kind of rare here. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
Who's your stock down? Oh,
it's a good point. It's 4 of the last 6 games, 10 or more targets, and Cooper Rush can actually get him the ball competently. It's not a situation like Malik Neighbors where it's just dog water, right? And then in the last 5 games, there are 4 wide receiver 14 or better finishes for CD Lamb. And then, of course, last week, Lamb was the wide receiver 6. Granted, we talk about what Schultzy is saying, too, is market. Lamb was very much, you could make an argument for being the 101 Dynasty wide receiver 1 or top 3. And then that took a little dent and a dip. And, hey, he's just proven that, like, some of those dented cans Microsoft might go down like Big Daddy, but the food or the drink that's still in there is still just as good. So absolutely, I'm with you on that.
I feel like I remember a show where somebody was asked if they were worried about CeeDee Lamb, and one of the people was like, "No, don't be worried about CeeDee Lamb because last time he had Cooper Rush, he was fine." Do you remember that show?
It was me. I did that.
Oh man,
Chev remembers.
Yeah, there was a guy on here that said to try to get Deebo Samuel for him too. That was me.
Yeah, I was never worried about CD. Who is your stock down, Schultzy?
We're just gonna go right to it here. It's Will Levis. He stinks. Beautiful. I've got more to say than that. I just wanted to put a dramatic pause. Talk about another keep trade cut situation here. Coming in preseason, he was creeping about 3,700, and he's down to 2,500 now. Rough math, that's like 35-40%, I think. That's a massive drop. Now, I never thought this guy was any good to start with. Coming out of college, the massive concern to me was pressure to sack rate. You looked at the rest of the class. Now, I know AR was a machine pressure to sack rate, right? Because of the scrambling. Some of the other quarterbacks in this class, CJ Stroud, he was pretty solid. Will Levis was like 29%. Like, it was absurd. You put any amount of pressure on this dude and he crumbles and he's going to take the sack. I didn't understand how that alone didn't discount him from teams. If you can't handle a college rush, what are you going to do at the next level? Fast forward past his rookie year, we're still trying to talk ourselves into Will Levis because of Brian Callahan. Now, if you listen to anything Biggs had to say about him, I hope you listen to Biggs because nobody hated Will Levis more than Biggs this offseason.
Or Brian Callahan.
Or Brian Callahan. But at this point, the boat is sunk. Someone might give him another shot out there. And who knows, right? Like, it's kind of, I don't think so, but the NFL is pretty crazy and quarterback starved. So who the hell knows? But
what do you guys think of? He goes to the Rams and he's learned some tutelage behind Stafford with McVay. What do you think of that?
No.
I think that they're going to do that with Quinn Ewers. So, no.
You think Quinn Ewers will come out this year?
I mean, unless Ohio State offers him like $8 million.
Or if he goes to Chapel Bill, North Carolina?
He's not doing that.
Hey, I haven't heard that one yet. That's good.
I don't think he's built like that. He isn't built to be coached like that. He's one of these new boys. He ain't built for Bill.
I just want to know how I buy into the poker table that's Zach Wilson, Will Levis, Malik Willis, and Trey Lance, because I want to be in that game.
Do their girlfriends get to come?
I don't know.
All right.
And the other thing I wanted to say before I get to my stock up, stock down is if Schultzy winds up assassinated in the near future, it's Big Mayo.
It's big. It's go to help.
It's Duke's Mayo. All right. My stock up, stock down.
Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. Jeremiah. It's Jeremiah. Whoa. Hey.
Hey.
It needs to be said on the record, Will Levis is a Hellman's man.
All right. Hellman's versus Duke, right? Yeah, that's a whole thing.
He's not a Duke's guy?
No.
Oh, wow.
He's done Hellman's advertising, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you got to go where the money is, right?
Yeah, I got to change my Will Levis coffee cup and mayonnaise jar avatar.
Let's go stock up.
Stock up.
Let's stock up on Michael Penix Jr. for obvious reasons. Kirk Cousins is not going to get his starting job back in Atlanta. Penix not only has first-round draft capital, but he has single-digit draft capital, the 8th overall pick. Penix will get playing time the remainder of the season next year, and he's a great bet for seeing year 3 as a starter to see it through. If you're selling Penix in the offseason, you're playing up the job security on a rookie deal to your trade partner. There is insulated talent surrounding Penix. you've got the tandem of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier to take off pressure. Drake London, excellent talent. Darnell Mooney has gotten his career back on track. Shy of London games, not to be confused with Drake London, Michael Penix is guaranteed to be in the fast track dome indoor conditions 9 games a year. You love to see it. The beauty is the opportunity for Michael Penix. These last 3 games, the Falcons get the Giants at home, the Commanders on the road, and home versus the Panthers. This is a cake schedule that will provide liquidity to Penix drafters to cash in early to ride the wave into 2025. Penix will provide a boost to second-round rookie drafters who couldn't get in on, ready? Caleb, Daniels, May, McCarthy. Now, of course, people have benefited. We're seeing tonight as Bo Nix lights things up. Those drafters have benefited. Well, now there's a little bit of delayed gratification, but you're about to rip off huge value from where you drafted Michael Penix Jr. in your rookie draft. So here's a market check. All right, Michael Penix or Derrick Henry. You know, if you're competing, you absolutely want Derrick Henry. Michael Penix or Terry McLaurin. Mike, who would you, since Terry McLaurin is topical, this is a super flex league, assume. Do you want Michael Penix or Terry McLaurin, Mike?
Really depends on my situation. I mean, quarterbacks are kind of like the most important asset in the situation. I think I'm leaning Penix unless I'm like, I'm just going to take the more valuable asset regardless. Penix was going at the latter, half of the first round, early second round, and in dynasty startups, and now he's going to have that opportunity with that insulated pieces around him. And he's got a future there. So I'm going to go with the quarterback because down the line, I think I can get very good value.
Very nice.
They're the same age, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And Michael Penix or DJ Moore, between those two, that's what the market is showing as even. I think it all depends on how your team is built, what your team needs. Do you guys want me to go stock down here?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick and say, like, especially in a situation like McLaurin and Penix, you're looking at a 29-year-old wide receiver, so your value is going to be on the decline over the next 3 to 4 years. And Michael Penix as a quarterback is going to carry the value. So in a straight-up situation, that's Michael Penix every single time. And then the other one that you asked was Penix or whom?
There's Derrick Henry and then Penix or DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. Again, I mean, DJ Moore is going to be a close to the line of scrimmage if the Bears know what they're doing. Romo Dunze is the deep threat, and DJ Moore is going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. So we know that Caleb Williams is the most historically bad deep passer in the history of fantasy points data and their data suite. So it's not looking good for Romo Dunze. It is looking better for DJ Moore, but I still would rather have Michael Penix Jr.
Excellent. Now let's go stock down Najee Harris. To put it in perspective, you guys will like this. Give me Rashad White over Najee Harris. Don't you guys love that? So let's just get that out of the way. I was reading a stat from Kyle Dvorak, NBC Sports. Ready for this? Najee Harris hasn't had a carry go for more than 20 yards since week 8. Najee Harris heading into his 5th year in 2025. 12.5 fantasy points per game this year is not bringing home any championships. Najee is the RB21 despite his team being 2nd in team runs per game. Najee being 7th in carries and 8th in red zone touches. Najee's true yards per carry come in at 3.7, which is ranked 53. The only real hope for Najee is that he lands in a bullish spot next year. Najee's 5th-year option was not picked up by the Steelers. Najee Harris will be 27 in 2025. He does want to stay in Pittsburgh. Whether that happens, we'll see. The 25 to 30-year age span has been given new life in the NFL, so for running backs. So Najee will land somewhere. If Najee goes to a bullish destination, you need to sell off any dead cat bounce in value because that is what it will be. Right now, if you're left holding the bag, you're left holding the bag right now, having Najee. Come March, though, when free agency hits, you need to have your spatula out and ready to flip Najee Harris for any rookie capital that you can get. Now let's take a look. KTC trade market. Najee Harris or James Conner? What do you got, Biggs?
Conner.
Yep. And it's funny because when that came up, the only thing I could look at that might give favorability to Harris is age, but straight up production and the contract that Conner just got, I'm with you there. Let's see, Schultzy, Najee Harris or Xavier Legette?
Wow, that's hard. I think I'll roll with Harris just because you're looking at a couple of years of at least somewhat of an opportunity. I'm just not a Legette guy.
All right, Chev, Najee Harris or a 2026 early second?
2026 second.
Beautiful. There you have it. So, we do have this longevity for the running back position, but gentlemen, I'll just leave you with the question. As I have Najee Harris as stock down, with the ascension of running backs or the continuation of 25 to 30 being, they're not dead yet kind of thing for the running back market. Do any of you see Najee Harris reclaiming value and having a good next, if he's going to be 27, the next 3 seasons paying off well for you in your lineups and a guy you want on your dynasty teams?
Yeah, I want him. I want him on the cheap, especially after what I saw last year with these veteran running backs getting into good situations. He gets into a situation that's a high-flying offense. Like, look at what happened with Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I'm in on that. Like, I mean, especially if people are getting rid of him for, seconds in 2 years from now, I'm going to gobble that up. I think there's a lot of value there. And Najee Harris, he may not be the most efficient guy, but, he could be a bruiser. And, if he gets in the right situation, he could return some value.
All right, Mike, you said 2 years from now. Let's put it to 2025 because that's on the forefront, right? Early third, 2025 rookie or Najee Harris. What do you got?
Well, I'm taking Najee there.
Okay,
The third round,
late second, 2025 or Najee Harris.
That would depend on my build and where I need the player at that stage. If I'm a contending team that needs that roster spot, like I like Najee Harris as a flex play, and he could definitely return some value. So is that a Ladd McConkey play? Tell me it was Ladd McConkey.
No, it's a Tucker Fisk catch.
Oh. Okay.
Hey, okay, one last one. Mid-second 25 or Najee Harris?
I'm going to take the second there. I think there's a lot of running backs in this class here that I'm definitely could take some value. Yeah. So there's
it's warm right around early third 25, late second.
There's zero chance I would take a third for Najee or give if I could get Najee for a third, I would buy. If I have the 203 in a league, and I 100% would rather the 203 to Najee. So I guess anywhere from 206 to 212 would be the range to where I would be willing to part with for Najee. But it would also depend on what rookie was on the board then, because if Brashard Smith is there, I want Brashard Smith.
I'm giving up the third for Najee. Or I'm giving up Najee for the third every time.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm confident enough in my scouting of running backs that I'm going to have more value out of that third round pick. There are so many gems in the third and fourth round that if you do your work and you see them coming, you're just picking them off. And I have rosters stacked full of running backs from the last couple of years just waiting for an opportunity. And if I had Najee Harris on any one of those rosters, he wouldn't be starting on any of those rosters. So to me, like the value play later on, the upside to that is much, much more valuable to me than Najee. But with that said, I want to shout out Martinez, Contra Costa County, where he was born. Shout out Antioch, Slay area, Best Coast. Love you, dog.
All right, let's get into Biggs. Let's get you.
It's me.
Yeah,
all right. I'm going to take you down a little road. Let's talk about some history with this fella.
Is it Lan Larison?
No, you have the show notes. All right, this guy's previous target record was 66 targets in his fourth year. This year he has 75 targets. His previous high points total was in his fourth year at 68 points. This year he has 120 already. We're only 14 games into the season. His highest finish ever in PPR was 109. He's wide receiver 49, and you all know who I'm talking about. Ray McLeod is my stock up for the week. He's only 28 years old, and he's a little guy. But we're talking about Michael Penix earlier. Michael Penix is going to need to have people that catch the ball. Ray McLeod can catch the ball. I believe he's on a 1-year contract in Atlanta, but the kind of season that he's had, the brain trust may want to keep him around. So his stock is up. Now, what is that stock worth? Not a lot. We're talking about the wide receiver 49 here. This guy is a spot player. He's a waiver wire pickup. I don't know if I'd give anything more than a 5th rounder for him, but that's a whole lot more than I would have given up for him in the last 5 years. He has raised his prospects significantly this season, and so I just wanted to talk about him.
Hey, one note on that, what you just said. On Spot Track, it has he's got one more year, Ray McLeod of 20.
Oh, he signed a 2-year deal.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so he'll be around, and he will. Michael Penix he's gonna really like throwing to Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod. He's gonna enjoy that. We saw Michael Penix support multiple wide receivers and a receiving running back at Washington. He's going to be able to do it in Atlanta. All right, my stock down, just because I have to. Deebo Samuel. So
I was laughing on mute, but I had to get it out.
In 2021, Deebo finished an entire season. He played in every single game. In 2022, Deebo did not play in every single game. In fact, he missed significant time due to injury. In 2023, Deebo missed time due to injury. And in 2024, Deebo has missed time and suffered from poor performance due to injury. I don't have any faith in Deebo Samuel. He is 28 years old, just like Ray McLeod. But here's the thing. Everybody who has Deebo Samuel has this idea in their head of him being a wide receiver too. He was a top 24 draft pick on the redraft side and in startups. And I stayed 2 arms lengths away from him. I wouldn't touch him with Schultzy's pole. Here's a guy who is ahead of Deebo Samuel this season. Ray McLeod. Deebo Samuel is wide receiver 50. Ray McLeod is wide receiver 49.
Oh, snap!
That's not good. And they're the same. They're the same age. Is Deebo Samuel better than Ray McLeod? Yes. Does he have better prospects than Ray McLeod? Yes. Is he going to outscore from this day forward to the end of their careers? Is Deebo Samuel going to score more fantasy points than Ray McLeod? Absolutely. But good luck trying to get more than Ray McLeod for Deebo.
I love it. Okay, Chev, you're up, buddy.
My stock up. My God. Is that Jalen McMillian's music? Jalen McMillan, baby. Jalen McMillan. This is a guy that I got enamored with during rookie draft season. I was wondering so I watched a little Washington is the last year he played before he tore his ACL, and I was like, man, this Rome Odunze guy's good. The other guy's really good too. And he jumped off the screen, and then he gets capital that's really acceptable for kind of an off the beaten path rookie. You're spending a late second, third, maybe early 3rd round pick to get him in your rookie drafts. And I mean, if Jermaine Burton was everybody's darling, this guy was just kind of left for dead. And then training camp starts, and he beats out Trey Palmer for the starting job, and he puts it all on tape. Week 1, he could have had 3 touchdowns. 1 he dropped, he caught 1, and then Baker missed him on another throw. And then you just get nothing because Chris Godwin's the wide receiver 5 through 7 weeks, and then his ankle gets turned. He's playing Twister when didn't tell anybody, and he gets his ankle twisted the wrong way. And you kind of expect the breakout to happen. They fool around with Sterling Shepard and Trey Palmer and the likes, and then they stop messing around these last few weeks. He gets 9 catches, 134 yards, and he scored 3 touchdowns. I fully expect him to go crazy this week against the Dallas secondary. That's pretty much, hey, if we don't sack the quarterback, we're going to give up a big play, and that's kind of been his propensity in the lineup is to hit big plays for this offense. So I think moving forward, it's going to be a pretty smooth ride for Jalen McMillan.
Guess where I took Jalen McMillan in my home league?
I'm going to say like 203.
403.
4?
And it's a 10-team league, so it was the 33rd pick off the board. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Right?
Like I was happy to get him in the 3rd.
I mean, it was the 33rd pick, so it was basically a 3rd rounder, but
sure.
But in a 12-team league, but yeah.
I was thrilled about that, and then I was like, okay, it might not happen, and then he wins the training camp job, and I was like, it's happening, and then it didn't happen, and now it's happening.
He won the training camp job because he pushed past Trey Palmer, but it was still the Chris Godwin show out of the slot, and Mike Evans is Mike Evans. It wasn't until the last couple of weeks where he stopped splitting touches with Trey Palmer and actually like jumped past him. Because once Mike Evans went down and Chris Edmonds went down, a lot of us were of the hive mind that, okay, here comes the Jalen McMillan breakout, but the Buccaneers didn't see it that way, and they kept pumping targets to Trey Palmer. The last 2 weeks, they were like, all right, screw that, we're going for Jalen, and it's changed everything.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about that.
All right, who's your stock down there, Chev?
DK Metcalf. Yeah. I don't love that. As someone who so going back a long ways, I went on a few recruiting visits, and I got to be in the locker room and talk to his dad, and see young DK Metcalf playing in his locker, to following him through high school to now seeing him turn into a freak athlete and a dominant NFL player. This pains me to say this, but he's just, we got the apex season, and we've been waiting for that to come back ever since. And we've talked ourselves into him being an elite wide receiver with an 80 for 1,310 ceiling, and that's never going to happen again. And not only is it never going to happen again, but there's an actual really, really good alpha type receiver. They spent more capital than they spent on DK Metcalf, even though he is on a second contract on the team right now, leading them in every single receiving category, becoming more quarterback friendly for Geno Smith. And we can't ignore that. If you have DK Metcalf, I sold all the shares I had before the season because I was like, I just can't keep doing this to myself. I'm not going to continue to talk myself into a wide receiver, a guy who finishes as wide receiver 22 to 24, and trying to talk myself into him finishing in the top 10 again. There's just no reason to continue doing this. And then JSN breaks out, and now there's zero path for you to be confident that he's going to return even a top 20 form. And there's the fact that he's going to miss time for injury just about every year, or be nicked up and just be a decoy in the game plan. So for me, I've got 27-year-old DK Metcalf as my stock down because we've probably seen the best that we've seen from him, and you'll still get spike weeks because he is 6'4" and 240 pounds, and he runs a 4.3. But I just can't see. There's zero reason for me to believe that he's going to return to elite form.
Let me play Jeremiah for a second. DK Metcalf or Bijan Robinson?
What?
No, that was seriously a trade that happened.
What?
Yeah.
Is it like point per is shirtless Instagram photo?
And then the other one that I saw, DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman or Romo Dunze.
Rome.
Same.
I love
I've
Rome.
never been
So
a Pittman
much.
guy.
I love Rome. He was my stock up a few weeks ago. I love Rome so much. It's going to happen. I need it to happen.
Yeah, and there's sirens outside of the person's house who acquired Bijan for DK Metcalf. So great for them. And we'll read.
You're on a list now, buddy.
I think that was the picture of him today that came out at Rikers Island in the orange.
Hey, that's what the drones are out there for. That's really what they're looking
They're
for.
trying to find
Guy who police. You got Bijan sending away DK Metcalf.
Well done, Coach. Well done.
Love it. All right, I'll get into my stock up, and that's who do you think it is?
4 Brown Hearts.
4 Brown Hearts, and it's for my Canadian boy, Chase Brown. He's already seized control of the Bengals backfield, and with the team's looming financial constraints, his future in Cincinnati and in fantasy football is looking brighter than ever as the Bengals, they look to re-sign Jamar Chase and even T. Higgins while managing Joe Burrow's massive contract. There's little room to allocate significant money toward a veteran running back. This leaves Brown, a promising, second-year player that has got the perfect opportunity, and he's been seizing it. In Week 15, he made a statement, rushing 97 yards on 25 carries, adding 3 catches for 16 yards and 2 touchdowns. I love his situation. I love where the Bengals are going with him. And with those financial constraints, I just think that Chase Brown has offered excellent value. He's been a league winner for me. Any team that I've gotten advanced in the next round in the playoffs here is because of Chase Brown. And he's got RB2 potential with RB1 upside here. And, he's been just great. The Bengals are likely to go with Brown as their feature back for years to come, and I think his asset is delivering big-time performances and return. I love Chase Brown.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
One thing I love is sometimes some weird things come out of Mike's mouth. So I'm on my toes when he's talking, and I don't know what to expect word by word. So when he said manage Joe Burrow's massive, I didn't know what to think was coming out next.
Hey, and pretty cool on Chase Brown. You said a nice dirty word in fantasy football about advancing the playoffs. In best ball, advance rate is all the rage, right? Best Ball Mania database shows Chase Brown for 27% advance rate. So if you had Chase Brown on your teams, he had that advance rate for you. So essentially, Chev, you and I, we were talking about Tajay Spears, Pollard, and Chase Brown were in that same ADP pump. Some of the teams that I have advancing, I've got 10 out of 43 who are advancing to the semifinals in my best ball teams. A lot of those teams have some Chase Brown. And hey, I'm looking at my opponents or looking across, scrolling in the playoffs. Guess who is on a lot of playoff teams is Chase Brown, to your point.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into my stock down, and unfortunately, I have a lot of stock in this player, and that's Zay Flowers. He's shown some flashes this season, but has failed to solidify himself as a consistent fantasy producer, particularly in dynasty formats. His range has been up and down, and the Ravens offense remains steady, but there are multiple factors that limit his upside that makes him a stock down for me. Players heading into the future, despite his consistent target volume, Flowers has struggled to deliver top-tier fantasy production, and his lack of explosive performances raises questions about his long-term value. He's been targeted 7 or more times in each of his last 3 games, yet he's failed to eclipse 20 PPR points per game. In week 15, he caught 6 to 7 targets for just 53 yards in a game that should have been a smash spot for him. His teammate, Rashad Bateman, is getting a lot of attention right now. I know he's a bit banged up, but he's, garnered some attention, and he's a first-round pick. And I think it's something that, Biggs pointed out on our waiver wire show for the forecast, that Rashad Bateman is coming on, and we can't ignore it. So while Flowers is involved in the passing game, his lack of explosive performance and the competition for targets makes him more of like a supplementary, like a guy that's going to be, a good wide receiver too. But as far as a future star, I see it, fading a little bit here. Am I crazy to think this, guys?
No.
Nope. He's very boom bust, and there's been a lot more bust.
I traded him at our rookie draft.
It's always going to be a low touchdown equity for him. And he's always going to have to get there on the back of volume, and he doesn't necessarily have the volume. I think I looked at his stats earlier today. I think he's at 66 for 916 and 4 on the season. I mean, that sounds a whole lot like he's going to finish 85 for a little over 1,000 and maybe 6 touchdowns. That's going to be around wide receiver 21. 22, and you're never going to be able to draft him in that range if he's finishing there. He's going to be in the top 15 to 16, most likely, on the back of the promise that he's going to give you what he gave you in week 9. I actually sent a tweet from the Profiler account this evening, kind of lamenting those facts, like, hey, it's been a while since we got good Zay Flowers. Like, the Steelers have sucked against wide receivers. This is a great breakout spot for him, but then again, so was last week. So if he doesn't score from 60 yards out, he's probably not going to score. Or 40 yards out. 60 seems hyperbolic.
Yeah.
He's not going to draw a target in the red zone versus
correct.
the other.
That's the point that I'm hinting at.
Yeah, they just
he's
don't
not
need
going
it.
to be a red zone target.
Mark Andrews and
Derrick Henry.
Oh shoot, he's probably behind Josh Oliver in the red zone.
Likely.
Likely.
I think he probably has more red zone targets this year than likely does.
He would, yeah.
But how likely is that going to continue, Mike or Bakes?
Stay tuned for the next episode of Dynasty Pulse to find out.
So I was an early adopter of Coastal Carolina during their breakout season.
They need more dogs.
And what was really funny was that their number one wide receiver, his last name was Hiley. So when they stood together, it was highly unlikely.
Have you ever seen? So has anybody ever seen the clip of their coach talking about how their players are too concerned about watching what they have on and stuff?
No.
Nobody. No. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna send that to all you guys because it is incredible. That's how I became aware of Coastal Carolina, and the coincidence that Isaiah Likely went to school there just is fantastic for me.
I saw Isaiah Likely when he was still a wide receiver at Coastal Carolina, and what was really interesting about it was that they were on a tear. They wound up losing in the Sun Belt playoff. Well, late in the Sun Belt season to some Louisiana team. But I was following them very closely because they were running through everybody. They hosted BYU, and Zach Wilson was starting to get a lot of hype. And I was like, cool, I'll be able to watch
that game.
Have fun watching Coastal Carolina and watch Zach Wilson, who's like, everybody's calling him the Storm and Mormon or whatever. And this small, like lesser non-Power 5 school absolutely flummoxed him. He looked terrible. And I was like, I will never in my life be in on Zach Wilson. And then my instincts were totally correct. He was like 32nd in DVOA his first 3 years, just god awful as a quarterback. And I saw it, like Coastal Carolina just absolutely pasted him. And I was like, why is this guy getting hyped at all? Anyway, that's my Coastal Carolina story.
Love it, Biggs.
Yeah.
Highly likely, folks. Now it is hour 20 in. We crushed another episode of the Pulse. We are headed into the championship weekend after this weekend. So hopefully we all have at least one or two or numerous teams still in it next week. And yeah, I love you all. Appreciate everybody from tuning in from the Fantasy Football Plus Network and the Undroppables. Shout out to Stalder. Shout out to Chalk and Jax for giving us the platforms here. We appreciate everybody. And Biggs, do it like you do, my man.
Unless your name is DMIC Media, Jack Lucene, or Chalk, we hope you win.
Or Jax. Hope you win.
Hope you win.
Peace.
Hope you win.
Maybe I hope you win, potentially.